এবারে সংগ্রাম আমাদের মুক্তির সংগ্রাম, এবারে সংগ্রাম স্বাধীনতার সংগ্রাম। জয় বাংলা।
বন্ধুরা, সবাইকে শুভেচ্ছা জানিয়ে আজকে রেগুলার লাইভ শেখ হাসিনার জন্য শুরু করছি। আজকের প্রোগ্রামটা একটু ইম্পর্ট্যান্ট। এখানে আমার সাথে যুক্ত আছেন অ্যাম্বাসেডর বিনা সিকরি। আমি এখন ইংরেজিতে চলে যাচ্ছি। হ্যালো ভিউয়ার্স, ফ্রেন্ডস, থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ ফর জয়নিং মি and Ambassador Bina Sikri, madam, welcome to my show.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Hello viewers, you know the Ambassador Bina Sikri. She was a career diplomat, a distinguished foreign service officer, a former secretary to the government of India, and a keen observer of India-Bangladesh relations. Madam Bina Sikri was Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh during a very difficult time. You know those days, and especially that infamous train track arms trafficking plot meant to destabilize Northeast India. And Madam, thank you so much once again for joining me for second time. You have seen the two reactions Ministry of Foreign Affairs under Prime Minister Tariq Rahman issued, one a couple of days ago, and within a week another very strong reaction, and very undiplomatic, very corrosive. And what is the underlying meaning, as I read them, is that Prime Minister Tariq Rahman's Ministry of Foreign Affairs is making it a case. It is conditional that if Indian government hands over Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina as per the extradition treaty between the two countries, Tariq Rahman will visit India. This is the meaning I read. You also, I think, saw them. How do you think about it, madam? The reaction of Indian government and the action by the government of Tariq Rahman?
Well, reaction of Indian government is not yet known because it has come today only. That's the second statement by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But yes, you are right that I am absolutely amazed by the kind of arrogant and rude note of that Facebook post put by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is based, I think, on a statement by the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. First of all, you know, on matters like this, you don't do diplomacy through the media. You know, you don't do diplomacy.
Yes, yeah.
If it's an important issue, of course, many issues can be important to different countries, but you discuss it diplomatically. For example, just a few days ago, our High Commissioner called on Prime Minister Tariq Rahman, and in the readout of that meeting, it was stated that in the Bangladesh Foreign Office readout of that meeting, it was stated that this question of extradition was raised, and the question of extraditing Usman Hadi killers that was raised, etc. And surprisingly, not much was mentioned about, you know, the relationship between Bangladesh and India and how important it is, how deep and intensive it is, and so on. So I think that nonetheless, after the meeting between High Commissioner Dinesh Trivedi, his call on Prime Minister Tariq Rahman, after that the discussions for a bilateral visit by Prime Minister Tariq Rahman, that stepped up. You know, of course, that there have been two separate invitations sent by the government of India, by Prime Minister Modi, to Prime Minister Tariq Rahman. The first was given in February itself, in February 2026, immediately after the elections. It was handed over to Prime Minister Tariq Rahman, a direct invitation from Prime Minister Modi inviting him and his family to come to India. There was no response to that for all these months. A few weeks ago, a second invitation was given, inviting Prime Minister Tariq Rahman as chairman of BIMSTEC for the BRIC summit. That too, none of these invitations had any response. And although earlier there was a clear understanding that Prime Minister Tariq Rahman would make his first visit to India, subsequently there's been no movement on that, and we know that he went to China and Malaysia first. Whatever it may be, as far as the content which you have asked me, the specific question on the content of the MOFA readout today on their Facebook, let me talk about both the issues. The extradition issue. It has been explained to the government of Bangladesh quite clearly and in some detail that extradition is a legal process. And being a legal process, it takes its own time. And if the legal process, once it starts, after all the papers are examined and all the formalities are done, it takes several years at least, because there have to be court hearings and people might want to put an appeal and so on. We know ourselves, India's own experience, when we are seeking extradition, for example, from the UK, it's taken years to get the people and still haven't come back. So but I must say that, so this point of view is very well known to the government of Bangladesh. So for them, after knowing that it is a legal process, it's a long process, and it's going to take its time, to suddenly link the visit of Prime Minister Tariq Rahman to the extradition of Sheikh Hasina, this does not make any sense at all. If there has also been reference to the 5th of August press conference that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina gave in India. Now, in that conference, she announced her decision to go back to Bangladesh. Now, having said that, she said very clearly that I want to go back. I will go back. I know there's a danger, but I think I will definitely want to go back. I go back by December. A very brave decision, a courageous decision, and in many ways a correct decision. So I think that once she announced that she wants to go back to Bangladesh, then the question comes and the talk of extradition becomes irrelevant in that sense. Because now you have to talk about, if she wants to go back, there should be a facilitation, there should be a reconciliation. She said she's prepared to go back and face the courts. She wants to file an appeal to the death sentence that has been awarded. So all these issues are there. And the point is that why are you going back again to talking about extradition? Now, if you're objecting to the 5th of August press conference, I think, there were two basic issues that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina spoke about. One, of course, her decision to go back. And secondly, she spoke about what had been happening in Bangladesh when she was Prime Minister, the economic development, the growth, the prosperity of the women, and so on, and what is happening now. Now, this is something for Bangladesh to look at. This is a press conference given at the invitation of a private entity. And if Bangladesh does not agree with what she said, they can put an answer, put it in the media, whatever they want to do. But to again go back to that press conference, I think, and to use it perhaps as an excuse of Prime Minister Tariq Rahman not to go to India, this is something which is really quite amazing, surprising, not in keeping with diplomatic norms at all. And one would not have expected that there would be this kind of response. So the question arises, is there pressure on Bangladesh from another country? From somewhere, because in the discussions between the governments of Bangladesh and India on Prime Minister Tariq Rahman's bilateral visit, this has been going on. So it's not that you're not talking about it. It is being discussed all the time. And as of yesterday or day before yesterday, there was even a date of 23rd August being mentioned as the date for the bilateral visit. So, and that date was being mentioned in Bangladesh and in India. In fact, that was absolutely on the verge of being announced. So, and I know that in Bangladesh also the preparations for the visit have been underway, So it's not that the visit was not being discussed. The bilateral visit was very much being discussed. And in fact, that seems to be the decision of the Bangladesh government, that they would now separate the two issues, whether bilateral visit invitation to respond to that or the BRICS summit invitation. And every process was underway to prepare for the bilateral visit. And day before yesterday, as I told you, they even announced 23rd of August. And this, even in Bangladesh, it was announced. So suddenly what has happened in these 48 hours is the question, where you're trying to do one step forward and three steps backward, to say that now, no, we're suddenly remembering once again the press conference of 5th August, we're remembering extradition. And, they're talking about the extradition of Osman Hadi killer. That is already being discussed between Bangladesh and India at the official level. And they're seeing, what is the situation, what can be done. So what I'm trying to say is that there seems to be these multiple levels of decision making, of public announcements, or suddenly you have diplomacy through the media, and suddenly again, you have bilateral discussions on the visit of Prime Minister Tariq Rahman. So this is a very, very puzzling. It's not normal, it's not natural, and it doesn't give any seriousness to Bangladesh's approach to the Bangladesh government's approach to better relations between India and Bangladesh, because as you know, that whether it is water resources, whether it is border management, whether it is trade connectivity and investment, there are so many bilateral forums which have to where these issues have to be discussed. And we also know that the relations between the framework of relations built up between Bangladesh and India under Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was working very well. It was of great mutual benefit, and we know that Bangladesh had achieved a growth rate of 6.5% to 7% a year, and Bangladesh is ready to graduate out of the least developed countries group. And when all this is happening, suddenly, after the, as they say, meticulously designed ouster of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, after that, all the decisions were reversed and the rate of growth plummeted. We know that under Mohammad Yunus as interim chief advisor, so many decisions on the bilateral trade, which had made the trade very smooth and very beneficial, and even small and medium ready-made garment exporters could count upon getting their goods from India at short notice at the right price, and it enabled their exports of ready-made garments to the Western countries to be very, very competitive. All this stopped. And because Mohammad Yunus changed the pattern of trading, the exports of ready-made garments had to go down because so many factories closed down. Hundreds and thousands of women became unemployed. Now, instead of reversing that, I would have expected that when Prime Minister Tariq Rahman won the elections in February this year, he would have reversed some of those decisions and got back to the earlier pattern in the interest of economic growth in Bangladesh, in the interest of bringing employment back to Bangladesh, in the interest of bringing Bangladesh back into its era of prosperity and redeeming so many of the people who had fallen into poverty in the last 18 months. Now, instead of all that, we see this kind of a press note. So it's a puzzle. Is it?
Ambassador, may I add 2-3 points?
Yes.
You have pointed out a very important matter regarding extradition treaty. It has been discussed much in Bangladesh and also on social media, YouTube, television, but no one mentioned that to process something according to extradition treaty, it will take years. But Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina herself declared that she is coming back to Bangladesh in December. So she is reducing the time by a couple of years. Very ironical. Another thing is, you have mentioned another thing that is Tariq Rahman being pressured by a third country. Another thing very important, the government is in huge crisis because electricity shortage, gas shortage, the price hikes, and many other things. Do you think this is also because they want to distract people from their everyday life and focus it on India-Bangladesh bilateral relations? These public statements, press statements?
I think that this is counterproductive. Actually, if this is the objective that you are saying, then it is completely counterproductive because the lack of, in the last 6 months, the lack of any change in the situation between India and Bangladesh, or the lack of improvement in the daily lives of the people of Bangladesh, has actually led more and more people to remember Sheikh Hasina and to say it was better in her time. Agi bhalo chilo, and they want her to come back. So in fact, the announcement by Sheikh Hasina that she wants to go back had in many ways, according to various reports and social media, had been very enthusiastically received by the people of Bangladesh. So I think that it's counterproductive to actually link, as you're saying, to distract the attention of the people by focusing on India-Bangladesh relations, because while in August 2024, there was this huge anti-India propaganda and this huge effort to portray everything that Sheikh Hasina did in the context of India, we know that by the time the elections came in February 26, all this had completely been forgotten, because people knew that it was much better under Sheikh Hasina. So actually this whole issue of keeping up the anti-India propaganda, that had actually died out, and there was absolutely no takers for that. There were no takers for that. And even, the students who in the beginning may have joined in August 24, they completely left the NCP. And they had gone back to their studies, and the NCP is now, who are they? A few MPs, and they are known to be all members of either Shibir or Jamaat-e-Islami. So I think that that certainly does not be the situation, in the sense that if they're trying again to take it as a point of anti-India propaganda, then this whole question of extradition, it'll take long. And then when Sheikh Hasina has announced her decision to return, and even after the decision to return was announced, there was some talk in Bangladesh, yes, we can bring her back, we can suspend the death sentence for a bit, we can have the appeal. Options were being discussed to show that it's a possibility, a very real possibility, that she can go back if you have the path of reconciliation, the path of discussion. And once she goes back and faces the courts, whatever the courts decide is all right. So this was certainly the path that was being worked out at that time.
Ambassador, another thing, the statement they issued after 5th of August, when Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina gave her statement to the media, in that press statement or public statement, I don't know what name I should call it by, they described Sheikh Hasina as genocider, fascist, mafia, criminal, mass murderer. 5 or 6 or 7 this kind of attributes. And again, they mentioned her as a criminal, something similar. So you see the kind of hatred and hostility they are showing publicly to the international community. So how much hatred these people are hiding behind this? So how can Sheikh Hasina expect justice to such people who hates her so much? What do you think, madam?
Well, I agree, because this is carrying forward the supposed logic of the ouster, which we know was a meticulously designed ouster. So they're carrying forward the logic and saying, we've proved ourselves right, we have done a court case, and we have, proved in the court that all this is right. But we know, the world knows, that the ICT is not authorized or does not have any constitutional right to try Sheikh Hasina. So the very fact of a kangaroo court having done the trial is accepted worldwide. And secondly, I would like to say that if this argument or this narrative of the interim regime of Muhammad Yunus, and after that the government of Tariq Rahman, if this narrative had any global resonance, then why did the ambassador of USA, Sergio Gore, who went to India and then went to Dhaka, because he went to Bangladesh because he has a regional responsibility, and in Dhaka he met the representatives of Awami League. so obviously there's talk of inclusivity, there's talk of, that Awami League should be there, the presence of Awami League in the political spectrum in Bangladesh. Why would he do that? He's supposed to have met at least one or two senior leaders of the Awami League. So, that narrative that has been tried out for 2 years, I don't know how much it carries water. In any case, as long as you accept an appeal, and an appeal is possible in this case, then all the issues should come out.
Ambassador, the way Tariq Rahman's government is conducting diplomacy, and we are hearing from various sources that there is a divide in opinion between Tariq's own man and Foreign Minister Khalil Rahman. Another thing is, it is very noticeable that they are going to public. Public mean the proponents and supporters of 2024 jihadist rise in Bangladesh. Anything happens, Tariq Rahman's government, through its Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which it is using as a tool for propaganda and spreading hatred. So, under these circumstances, what do you think? What direction India-Bangladesh relations will take? Because we see from Indian side, they very restrained, especially we see the conduct, the way High Commissioner Dinesh Trivedi is working. He's totally diplomatic and keeping the face as a really very, seasoned diplomat, though he is known as only a politician. But all the things Tariq Rahman's government is doing is simply propaganda and feeding their supporters. So nothing makes sense to me. But I want to know from you what direction India-Bangladesh relationship will take if it goes like this.
I think you're absolutely right. The government of India has shown a great deal of calm, I would say, strategic patience. And right from the first day, even on 8th of August 2024, when Mohammed Yunus first took office as chief advisor, our government, our prime minister sent a message of congratulations and expressed the interest in maintaining the good relations between Bangladesh and India, and expressed it on many occasions. But there was never any response from the Bangladesh side. And rather, there was no interest at all in visiting India, in having the dialogue with India on the various groups that we have. For the border management, you have the group between Director General BSF and Director General BGB. You have a Joint Rivers Commission for the water resources. So you can have meetings at the group level, you can have high-level leadership meetings to sort out any problems, but there was no interest. Similarly, when Tariq Rahman got elected and was sworn in as Prime Minister on, I think, 17 February 26. Similarly, again, our government expressed every interest in continuing the good relations. The invitation was given immediately, and we expected that he would come and that there would be. Because there is no answer. There is no answer to better relations between India and Bangladesh than to have a direct dialogue at the leadership level, at the group level, at the ministerial level, and at the people-to-people level. We have said again and again that our relationship with Bangladesh is essentially a people-to-people relationship, and there must be complete understanding. So I think that what you're saying is there does seem to be some conflict, internal conflict within the Bangladesh government. Because why would, till the 14th, till day before yesterday, you're talking about the visit on 23rd of August, and suddenly today you have this, which seems to give a direct linkage between the extradition and the visit of President Tariq Rahman, and it's putting it in a very strange way. So far there is no indication from the Foreign Office, but we'll know tomorrow because the new week starts in India tomorrow. We have no indication on that, as to what it is that it is all about. There is no indication. Maybe we'll hear something from our High Commission in Dhaka, but at the moment this message has come as I can say, one step forward and then 3 steps backward.
The one thing is very clear. I think Tariq Rahman does not want to visit India, and he is making a case against his visit. He does not want to, so he makes hostage of Sheikh Hasina case. But, madam, I want to go to a deeper issue. All these people always, even in their public statements or press statements, there is a accusation to India of violating Bangladesh's sovereignty, because they are all the time saying India is not respecting Bangladesh's sovereignty. They are violating it, and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina sold out Bangladesh to India, and that should change. But what do they mean by violating Bangladesh's sovereignty? I have never seen India do something that violates Bangladesh's sovereignty. They never sent their troops. They never attacked Bangladesh. They were mostly restrained in their statements. So how actually India violated Bangladesh's sovereignty? What do you think?
Absolutely, that's a totally incorrect statement. India has never violated Bangladesh's sovereignty. As you know, that even in 1971, our troops were the earliest to withdraw. We said, no, we will not stay anymore. Bangladesh is now an independent country, and our troops will leave. Right from then, that day till now, although we know that shoulder to shoulder, Bangladesh and India fought and achieved victory in the Bangladesh Liberation War. But right from that day till now, India has had no interest whatsoever in any way violating Bangladesh's sovereignty. In fact, all this elaborate relationship methodologies through groups, etc., are meant to avoid any misunderstanding on a violation of sovereignty. Even the border disputes, and you know that India and Bangladesh are remarkable because in the last 15 years, we solved all our land boundary issues, all the enclaves issues. Everything was solved in a peaceful manner. And we know that Bangladesh, in fact, got more land and India got less land, but said, no, it's all right. Then even the maritime boundary between India and Bangladesh, it went into arbitration, but India accepted the result of the arbitration. We said, fine, it's all right. We don't want to have any dispute with Bangladesh on this. We accepted the arbitration result, and the maritime boundary is also being solved peacefully. So there is absolutely no indication that India is anyway interested or has in any way violated Bangladesh's sovereignty. We know that Sheikh Hasina, she came to India on the 5th of August. Her aeroplane was left. It was a Bangladeshi aircraft. It left Bangladesh. We had no indication before we received the request that it wants to cross into Indian territory. And at that time also we had no indication, and there was an indication it was wanting to go on to some other country where perhaps there was another response. And then Sheikh Hasina has been here. Of course, she is our honored guest, and she's been given every treatment, kind facilitation, and she's welcome to stay as long as she likes. But the point is that we've had the situation before. I would like to point out His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been in India for decades, and he makes his statement and he's there. Our relationship with China continues. We have our relations, we have our good times, our ups and downs, whatever it is, it's working on. So it's nothing to do with violation of sovereignty at all. And on the extradition process, we have explained to Bangladesh and to other countries that it's a legal process. But now that Sheikh Hasina has said she wants to go back, that's also fine by us, because if she wants to go back, that is her decision, and it's the correct thing that she wants to go back to her own country, and we would be very happy to facilitate that, to make sure it happens in a peaceful manner with reconciliation and whatever the appeal, etc., that can be worked out. And all this was being discussed even in Bangladesh. So it's not as if it's something discussed only in India, It's not something not something that we are imposing on Bangladesh. It's something they're discussing themselves. And I think all this talk between this government and that government totally forgets about the most important element in all this is the people of Bangladesh. And we've seen that the people of Bangladesh have been more and more expressing their support for Awami League. That's absolutely clear. And why would the American ambassador meet Awami League leaders if this were not so?
Ambassador, two things we have common. For example, water sharing is one. Another is death of Bangladeshi nationals while crossing to Indian territory. Take second case, death of Bangladeshis inside India. during Awami League's government, it was described as breaking Bangladesh sovereignty by India. But now Tariq Rahman's home minister, he said that if anyone dies within Indian territory, it is not breaking our sovereignty. So when government changes, their interpretation of breaking sovereignty is also changed. What I want to mention that this kind of issues, the two issues I have just mentioned, exist between any two neighbors anywhere in the world. But year after year, decade after decade, the anti-liberation forces and elements in Bangladesh have been describing these two issues as breaking Bangladesh's sovereignty by India. And we did not see much actually public awareness building action by government of India or by government of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Do you have anything to say about it?
Well, let me tell you, let's take the border management issue first. I think that it is very clear, as you yourself said, that a huge porous border of 4,000 kilometers between countries, it's the longest that India has. It's the longest, I think it's the longest such border possibly anywhere, in the world, a very, very long border. There are bound to be some one or two questions of some incidents. The question always is how you handle the incident. As you have said, that the Home Minister of Bangladesh himself has said that if somebody has died on Indian territory, it's not a question of violating sovereignty. No border troops of the BSF or any other border troops of India have crossed into Bangladesh because we have a fence. We have a fence there, so there's no question. And the fence is built on the Indian side of the border to show that even beyond that fence, there is still 150 yards of Indian territory. So there is no question of violating sovereignty in any way. And I think that, and I have maintained this for a long time, right from the time that I was there in Bangladesh, is that the incidents at the border, first of all, there are not that many. In the whole year, maybe there'll be, 100, 150, 300, but they'll be minor, one or two major. But then the point is, I always maintain that the first thing that any incident occurs, there should be a flag level meeting between the local commander of the BSF and the local commander of the BGP. Immediately, within hour, they should be to decide what actually
happened.
Trafficking of women and children, and there is also a lot of smuggling. So it is not just a question of crossing the border. If you cross by legal means, you cross at the border points, there's so many border points, there is never a problem. The question is always about these two issues of illegal trafficking of women and children and of illegal smuggling. So this is the issue that Bangladesh and India have to work out among themselves. And I must say that under the years of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, we had worked out an excellent system of coordinated border management. And there was even a coordinated border patrolling, which is unique. No other country in the world, no other two countries in the world have this system. That in those areas which you think are sensitive areas or where some incidents have taken place, then what about this? We had worked out a system of coordinated border patrolling. And this was working very well. So I'm not saying the incidents come down to zero, but the point is that I think there has to be enough maturity on both sides in Bangladesh and India to understand that whenever any incident occurs, please understand what the incident is and why it's taken place. And we know that, for example, when the smuggling takes place, the groups of smugglers, they come with their weapons, with their kattas and all that, and then they try and attack the BSF, and the BSF sometimes is forced to retaliate at danger to their own lives. And at one point, India had even ordered that we will give only rubber bullets to the BSF, so that even if they do retaliate, it will be a rubber bullet. So all these situations have been there, all these discussions have been there. It is a big area of importance, and that is why the meetings between the DGBSF and the BGB, they take place regularly. Even now, there was one which took place recently. So to show that the border is an important issue for both sides, we don't want there to be any misunderstanding on that. And we should be able to solve this problem bilaterally, by dialogue and diplomacy. There is no question of a question of sovereignty. I don't think even under Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she ever said that this is the question of violation of sovereignty. No, it is a question of an incident, a law and order incident, a criminal incident maybe taking place at the border, which has to be resolved by the two sides on the basis of their respective rules and regulations.
Yeah, Ambassador, this is the main actually propaganda or issue made by all those people who joined one another to topple Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in 2024. One and only issue they made, that the anti-Indian propaganda within the Bangladesh, fed by Islamic jihadism and terrorism. Recently, you saw in the United Nations Security Council report, they mentioned that Al-Qaeda for Indian subcontinent is making its ground in Bangladesh. And are you concerned, madam? Because we saw...
Yes, very, very concerned. In fact, the security situation in Bangladesh, the deteriorating security situation in Bangladesh, is a matter of real serious concern to India. And we've seen reports that not only the AQIS, but also the IS and also the Jamaat-e-Dawa, all the Pakistani terrorist groups, Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, they're all there in Bangladesh. And they had huge black flag demonstrations. They're trying to intimidate the people of Bangladesh. They're trying to get them to accept the way of Islamic extremism. But we know that the people of Bangladesh are not interested in Islamic extremism. And perhaps the reason why the Jamaat-e-Islami was expecting totally to form a government, why they lost in the elections, is because of this. Because maybe the women's group voted for Tariq Rahman because they had been so troubled by the Jamaat-e-Islami during the 18 months of Muhammad Yunus interim regime. So I think that all this is very, very clear that the people of Bangladesh don't want Islamic extremism. They want their normal lives, they want stability, they want democracy, they want prosperity. And I think they understand now that good relations with India gives all this to them. It has given all this to them for 15 years. 6.5%, 7% rate of growth, sometimes the fastest in all of Asia, sometimes the fastest in the world. And, being able to graduate out of the LDC status, that is really an honor for any country. So I think that people of Bangladesh should do that. And this business of trying to distract attention by Sheikh Hasina putting focus on extradition, when you know that the extradition treaty takes 2 years, and when you know that Sheikh Hasina has said she wants to go back. So what more do you have? Any country, if we have asked for extradition from the UK and that person in UK says, I want to come back, we'll say, by all means, come back. And many people have come back from other countries, from UAE and others, when the government of that country says, no, we're going to send them back. So this happens all over the world. So now she has said she wants to go back. So where is the question? It's really distracting attention of the people by putting it again back on extradition. Because you're trying to distract attention from the fact that Sheikh Hasina has said she wants to go back. You're saying, we don't want her back, but we want the extradition to happen. This is a complete contradiction. It's a complete contradiction. It exposes the weakness of the Tariq Rahman government.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you so much. My friends, my viewers are asking different questions. I think we can arrange another meeting with another show with Ambassador Binasiki to answer your questions. And viewers love you so much, madam. The last show was viewed by large number. So once again, thank you so much. And I will request you to give me another session, another day. Friends, we are taking leave today. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
আমার কিছু চাওয়ার নেই। আমি বাংলার মানুষের সেবা করতে এসেছি। মা বাবা ভাই সব হারিয়ে সব হারাবার বেদনাকে সম্বল করে আমি বাংলার কৃষক শ্রমিক মেহনতি মানুষের মুক্তির জন্য সংগ্রাম করতে এসেছি। আমার সংগ্রাম সেই দিন সফল হবে বাংলার দুঃখী মানুষের মুখে যেদিন হাসি ফুটবে, বাংলার ঘরে ঘরে কোনো হাহাকার থাকবে সংগ্রাম সার্থক হবে, সেই দিন জাতির পিতার আত্মা শান্তি পাবে। এখনো ষড়যন্ত্র আছে, এখনো হুমকি দেওয়া হয় আরেকটি 15ই আগস্ট ঘটানো হবে, এখনো হুমকি দেওয়া হয় যে আমার পিতার লাশ পাওয়া গিয়েছিল, আমার লাশ নাকি খুঁজে পাওয়া যাবে না। যারা আমাকে হুমকি দেয় তাদেরকে আমি একটি কথাই বলবো, 17ই মে বাংলার মাটিতে পা দিয়েছিলাম, জীবনের পরোয়া আমি করি নাই, কোনো কিছু চাওয়া পাওয়ার জন্য আমি আসি নাই।